I've been listening to the same song for 3 days. All right. All right. There we go. Oh man. What are we doing? Today's the 12th. That's all I know. Yep. Yeah. So the ear shit. There's always something going on, man. Well, at least they're off the road. Or you could even go out the door. Some bullshit. Could you have done anything? The answer is no. It's not these modern cars. What did it sound like? It's not like you just need a good and proper jump. Sounds like it didn't have enough cold cranking bolts to charge it up. And I don't have my little, I don't carry a little portable voltage meter with me. And to be brutally honest with you, I'm tired of cars. So, stuff that happens with cars, it happens with cars. I don't even worry about it. If you got a credit card, you can get roadside assistance. If you got insurance, you can get roadside assistance. If you're like those two fellas there, trying to save a buck, probably not insured, probably not much of anything, just driving they ain't supposed to be driving, then you see what you see. But at least they had enough sense. And they didn't have enough sense, they were on the median. Like, you can pull the car over to the side and just leave it on the side of the road. And I see a lot of that around here where it's like, hey, I'm trapped out here. Let me call my buddy. My buddy can come fix it. And what's gonna happen is you're probably coming here tomorrow and that thing will still be sitting there. While he waits to see if he can get the street mechanic to come by and fix it. That was why they parked it on the median. I was up here a few months back, and the dude had parked it. He had to park it in a parking lot. Seems like the later I come out here, the more people are driving. And I thought maybe it was the kids were going back to, you know, they were having one last hurrah before they go back to school, but they, I don't know. I know different people with different kids in different school districts, and it's all over the place. One school district is starting classes tomorrow. I don't know why they decided to start on Thursday. They just start on Thursday. One group's already been in school for a couple days. One group don't start till next week. So it's all staggered. I know people who have been homeschooled, and the school year never ended. And that's what gets lost in the conversation is I know people who homeschool and they're not religious nuts and they're not you know, they're not like anti-deep state. They're just ordinary people who came from an educated background, and one of the parents doesn't really have like a regular consistent job and has a degree and in a liberal arts degree, and they said, oh, I can teach the kids. And it used to be that's crazy talk. You wouldn't know how to do this and you won't know how to do that. And even I kind of, as a guy who was advocating for education, but I took a class one time for college algebra that was all computer assisted. I went in and I learned through a computer. And I learned more in that class with the multimedia videos, interactive, I guess I want to say lessons and tools than I ever did in a class with one teacher. The way we're doing education doesn't make sense anymore. Now that's not what I'm not saying is I want to completely abolish all public schools and let's go ahead and do the charter system. Let's go ahead and do the voucher thing. No, nothing of the sort. There's a small sliver, a small minority of people who can homeschool their kids and it'd be okay. The kid's gonna turn out just fine. In fact, they might be better than what the regular system's putting out there. But what I am saying is the people of means, the people of abilities don't need schools as much as the people who don't have all that. The one thing that makes education work is parental involvement. That's what's wrong with the education system today is you got parents who are working too much. They had a kid. Like I said, they can't afford to keep the kid. They can't be a part of the kid's life like they should be. You know, you got a deadbeat parent and you look down on them because they're neglecting their kids for that reason. And you had parents who, when you got two parents that work 40, 50 hours a week, we think of that as noble. I was like, no, that's still neglect. Anyway. You don't have skin in the game? Oh no, I always have skin in the game. It's just, I'm quiet in the background because they're not my kids, technically. You're right, they're not my kids, but eventually they become my problem. I'm just saying to those of you that are raising kids stupidly with no plan, they're your kids today, but tomorrow they're the world's problem. All right. No soapboxing? I'm just tired. I'm not gonna. I just can't believe there's so much going on here, and I don't know if it has something to do with. If it has something to do with the fact that it's so hot. What happens is these people normally would be doing stuff during the day, but they come out here at night. And so that leads me to believe they don't have a regular schedule, so they don't work regular jobs. But I know who these people are. Everybody you see driving around right now is probably the non-essential. You know who the essential workers were. Got him as the pandemic. I'm the only one. Nah, there's some people, like I said, other than the people, everybody dying and being scared. I absolutely love the pandemic. What was the crazy part of the pandemic? We were supposed to be socially distancing. We didn't know anything was going on in the pandemic. Everybody knew better. Social distancing. So you might sit there and, like I said, everybody's blaming Anthony Fauci for all this stuff. And I was like, Anthony Fauci gets no blame. Anthony Fauci's job was to warn policymakers on preventing a pandemic, not how to deal with it when we get into one. Was he the worst guy for the job? No, he did what he had to do, but you can't do anything with this crowd where everybody is, I did my own research, and you can't tell me how to do this, that, and the other. People who only think of themselves. People who only think of themselves, nobody who was in the CDC was going to be the right guy. They don't want a CDC. So fuck those people. Now my whole gripe is, if Trump had never gotten elected in 2016, you never heard about the pandemic. You never heard about COVID. COVID would have been something that happened in China, never quite made it over this way, and that was the end of it. The United States has been taking charge since the 1940s and 1950s. And then when it decides to be asleep at the switch, the rest of the world falters because they built the entire system around what's the US doing? There is a lot going on tonight. Anyway. Tony Fauci. You never heard about him. Just another bureaucrat in a high-ranking position, was an expert at what in his field, not a public relations. He's the best you can hope for in public relations from a guy who sits there and looks through microscopes and petri dishes all day. And yet somehow he's supposed to be up to the same level as presidents and press secretaries. Nah, this goddamn radar jammer. I hope I'm jamming them just as bad as they're jamming me. So I thought it was the other one that was all bad. It's like, no, it's just there's something here, and I think it's that. That must be a box that tracks Doppler. For what purpose? It looks like it's a utility box for some utility company, but I don't know. But I can't get a good reading here because of that piece of shit. And then we're back to normal. So somewhere around Seguin, there's something there that puts out a lot of radio signals that are. And then it goes back to normal. Put in her utility request. What is this? And why does it jam radar? So I guess if you're one of those conspiracy theorists, that's the question you need to ask. What is that back there? Me, I have a feeling it is something to monitor something. Whatever put it in there doesn't really utilize the data the right way anyway, so because none of this is changing. Like, they're not using that data to make this road safer. Nah, it's just a day where I'm ranting. Oh, it's gone. It's a bearing for a. Looks like it's a bearing for a car. What is? Yeah. That's the, I think it's the hubcap. No, it's a bearing. It's just missing the inside of the rest of the bearing. Yeah, it's frozen up. That time of year, huh? People have already got their signs printed up. You won't see those in my neighborhood because it's a waste of money. There's a lot going on over here. time is it? 23:13. Yeah. I live in voting precinct 4009. On a good day, maybe 10 people in the area show up to vote. At least that's how it went for the local elections. Maybe in the national, we might get 100. I think there are about 1,000 voters. And then I was looking at District 6 and all the different precincts. 44,000 people, 44,000 plus eligible voters in District 6. And yet, District 13, where I'm headed down here, that has about a quarter of that many people and less land mass, has a higher voter turnout. Therefore, they get what they need, mostly. And they can sit there on next door and gripe and complain about Gay Donald Willis, but she'll take care of them. I heard the stupid statement where people said, and I get it now, it's a stupid statement. I'm not saying the people are stupid, I'm just saying it's a statement that lacks mental forethought. And that is, voting doesn't matter. Your individual vote, but you say that's wrong. Scientifically, what you should say is individual voting has a reduced magnitude. Now, that doesn't roll off the tongue quite as nicely as voting doesn't matter. Your vote matters, but the magnitude is so small, it seems insignificant by comparison. But if you vote, and your neighbor votes, and your neighborhood votes, and your neighborhoods vote, it fucking matters. Lori Dana, in the last election, she cleaned house. She had 1,400 votes or something like that. Out of 44,000 people, 1,400 people thought that she was good enough to run this district. That's very low turnout. Now imagine the people in your neighborhood, and that's what it was. We get these little blocks in neighborhoods, 100 people here, 100 there, 50 here, 80 there. Started to add up. So those 1,000 people who voted in the local elections have more say and more pull than 43,000 of us. That's why voting matters. If the people in your neighborhood had showed up, things would have been different. I guarantee you those people who voted in that area and show up on the map, whatever they got going on in their areas is probably being taken care of by her. They're probably well connected. The people who got those people to the polls are being taken care of. That's why voting matters. Voting brings you attention. And then you got to figure out, and that's where it comes in more when it comes to your civic duty or what you want to have done in your neighborhood. Voting is how you get their attention. After you've gotten their attention, what do you want them to do? Come with your plan of attack, the plan of action. Be nice and cordial at first. After a while, you can get nasty. You can protest, You can go, Karen, and talk to the manager. That's why democracy takes participation. I know it bugs you. It's a part-time job. Going to meetings, keeping up in the newsletters, writing responses. What do you want done in your neighborhood? Well, you know, now that you mention it, I would like you to start doing this. This time of the year, and they're slick when they do it. This time of the year, the local governments and the state governments are having their powwows about what they're going to do with your budget money. And I say it's your money because you're the one paying taxes. You're the one voting in the bonds. It's your money. And then they're going to have meetings where they talk about what to do with your money. And the reason I say that they're slick about it is all these meetings are starting right around the time that you got to sit there and get your kids ready for school. Things are changing at work. Maybe you're tired. It's in the hot part of the thing. There's a lot of reasons for you not to attend these things. I, by the way, missed a meeting that they were going to have at the aviation thing for the Dallas Connect program. I missed it on Tuesday. I missed it on Tuesday because they didn't mention it in the newsletter. I also didn't get a notification until that day, when it was too late to plan for it. And so something was going on there that they didn't want me to know about. That's what my conspiracy theory brain's thinking. What are you guys hiding that you said, hey, we don't want the guy with the 360 camera showing up this time? Okay. So, might be something I have to escalate. We'll see. But had I known about it, I definitely would have been gone, and you definitely would have been seeing a video about it by now. I like to believe it has something to do with the budget. Maybe it just slipped their minds, but I just don't know anymore. Oh, man. So what happens when they keep doing that? People are going to start leaving the city. People have already started leaving the city. This guy again. It's quiet out here. This is what Dallas sounds like when there's no cars. This is what 9 p.m. used to sound like. I got to enjoy it for what? A minute? And then this fucktard shows up. It's like, why'd you call him that? Headlights out. Look like it's been out for a while. But this is what they mean when they say cities aren't loud, cars are loud. You see all these morons going by at every odd hour. I really don't believe that these people are just getting off of work. I think these are the people who have nothing better to do with themselves. Anyway. But cars are loud. Rubber on the road. Engines revving, displacing the air. They just can't help themselves. Damn near midnight and there's still traffic out here. Did he cut it? Yeah, he cut it. Still looking a little unruly, but not as bad as it was. It's enough clearance for your wheelchair. All right.
Wait.
No, I was not trying to set that off, but that's bottom line is it's a detector for the blind. My neighborhood doesn't have a precinct chair, and I'm thinking about researching the position. I barely have time to do this. The idea of me canvassing, especially for the Democrats, is wholly unappealing. Doesn't sound like the president. Plane taking off after 11 p.m. That's one way to do it. What's up, Possum Sam? What's that, awesome possum? Fifth possum. That didn't look like the super dynamic possum of tomorrow. I gotta wonder, are possums, I mean, according to the Friends of Bachman Lake sign, I guess they're native to Texas, or Dallas in particular. tell me I might actually get to listen to some music. Oh, man. All right, here comes the fun. Well, that was fun. Where's it coming from? All of this. I wonder if I could sue the city for that. If I had slipped and fallen and hurt myself. Maybe. These ambulance chasers today, unless you're talking six figures, they don't want to touch it. This is the guy told me about the dog attack. I'm thinking, hey, we can get the guy's house, we can do this, we can do that. And he says, nah. He said, unless the thing horribly maimed you and did $10,000 worth of medical, you had $10,000 worth of medical bills, we just don't really pursue it. And I was like, wow. He's just being blunt. Now that was when I went for the big firm. Maybe I need to go to those guys who advertise on park benches. Oh well, too late now. But the big firms are mostly the same. We don't collect a dime unless you win. Maybe that has something to do with it. I remember somebody was saying that lawyers would charge a retainer of $300 an hour. See, it looks like he's coming with some steam. 32. He slowed up when he saw me taking pictures. Huh. He might turn around. I catch. It's been so long since I've gone down here, but usually I'm going down here. I used to go down here during the day. It's weird to me how Lenel is a cut through that'll get you almost to Northwest Highway. So what it does is it intersects with Mixon, and then Mixon is the one that takes you. And so people will still keep using these as cut throughs because A, there's the wide roads, B, they're nicely paved, and C, there's nothing that really slows them down. Like I haven't seen a single stop sign along here. I take that back. You get a stop sign when you get to Park Lane, and you just blow through that. Guess it's time to find out who has dogs. Or I could go back down here again. That was a hell of a trip. Put a ticket in about that. There we go. Oh, the no trespasser. Whenever you see those signs, sometimes it indicates that a person might be squatting there. Like that's legally parked. Commercial truck larger than 25 feet. I think about how narrow this road is, and then that's the funny thing is it's already a narrow road, and then you got people that park on the side of it. So it's basically reduced down to a one-lane street. And right there's Northwest Highway. Yeah, I haven't been here in a long time. Long enough to where I haven't gotten a chance to see them gentrifying one house. And who was that telling me? I think it was, no, it was Douglas. He was telling me that people buy these houses and the second floor is unoccupied. They're never going to use the second story. It's just like one or two people living in the house. They live on the lower levels, and then the rest of the house just sits empty. That's an upstairs that's being heated and cooled. That's a waste of electricity. But the person bought it because they needed a house and they wanted a house in this area. And they're not going to get the house they want. They get the house that's available. So what's available? A cheaply made stick frame house that costs way too much money and has 2 stories. I'm not sure who's going to write about the fallen civilization of the United States. It's inevitable now. We're in a collapse. They don't want to tell us that. They don't want people to panic. And sometimes they just stupidly think that maybe they can turn this around. But it's hard to have any confidence when you see the richest people in this country buying up humongous amounts of stuff that's never going to get used. I just read a report that Amazon is planning on building a data center. And it pisses me off because that was my fault. It was one of my fallback places. I was going to buy land in Pecos, Texas. It was dirt cheap. You get like 200 acres for $20,000. Amazon bought up a big bunch of land in Pecos, Texas, and they're going to build one of the 3rd most polluting sites in the country. It's going to be a big gas-powered data center that puts out more emissions than a lot of small European Union countries. And they're building this for no reason. Pyramids to capitalism. You know, the pyramids as a structure are useless. They're like sitting there. They're a monument to some idiot. They don't do anything. They don't serve any practical purpose. They're just a burial marker. A headstone for one guy that took slave labor to build. And that's what it feels like. It feels like data centers are going to be the tombstones for American businesses. Here lies Amazon. They couldn't get enough compute. Yeah, I guess that guy moved to, like I said, he's on my street now. Well, there's a guy that got a red maroon truck. Some of those oil spots are his. He left that junky ass truck over there. But man, there was a time when you come down here and this whole row would just be junk cars. That's why all those oil spots are there. And then one day the people over here, they all got pissed off and kept going after the apartment people, I guess, and they did the smartest thing I have ever seen. They painted all of this as a fire lane. It's up there, like I said, I thought the city did this, but no, it's the property owner that has to ask for this, and then they get a permit and all that, and then they maintain it, and the city honors it. They see you parked there, they move your ass out of the way. Runway noise after 11 p.m. period. It used to lock on to my position and then I could put the ticket in. Now they got it pinned to just one address. I would have loved it if they did something like this on Bolivar, but I guess they don't have to. Parking enforcement actually started going after the guys. They got it nice and cleaned up now. This is interesting. I don't know, man. I just know that there's always traffic. So he sped off over there for no reason. You know, I don't know what the holdup is here. They've had this torn down like this for a year. So I got an idea what it is. Like I said, somebody's brother-in-law. At least now he's cutting the grass. Before he wasn't even doing that. Well, I got my work cut out for me. This idiot put up paper signs that nobody can read and taped them to the stop signs on the reflective part. It's what lame brains do, man. It's just like destroying property for a badly written sign. Public property. I guess he ran out of signs, or they just right away. But yeah, I would have loved for them to, like I said, this is paved. That part, not. I guess that's something I can ask for. What is this, between Cortez and Bolivar? Can you guys pave the right of way so we could have a bike trail? What was I saying about the guy destroying public property? It's also a sign as to who reports things and who doesn't. Down here, they're all over the stop signs. Over there, not so much. Let me see what I just tripped over there. Because if I trip, that means it's more than a 1/4 inch. Yeah, that's bad. It's like 1/2 inch. You see, I stumbled a little bit, but I'm fine. But then you get a senior citizen. And so what happens if you report that to the city? They'll tell you it's the homeowner's responsibility for that. We can do the 50-50 cost program and help him out. Meanwhile, Granny tripped and fell, broke her hip. Here's another one. A lot of stumble points. Then they put this utility pole here, dug up and left all that there. That's what happens when you don't give a shit about the quality of your work. But see, that's the problem, is I can no longer, like I said, when I was younger, I was just do this stuff and just put up with it. Because you're so self-absorbed. I was going to school, working, taking care of elderly parents. And now as I slowly, hey, look at that, I need to replace that sign. It's faded. It's leaning. It's the old breakaway pole. I think I put a ticket in on that. Maybe I didn't. Kept telling myself it's not my responsibility, but this is still District 6. Anyway, too much? Yeah, it's too much. It's and it's crazy. I was walking down the other way. It was just me talking to myself and thinking. I come down here and I spot problem after problem after problem. Litter. So this is what the guy was talking about. This section is paved. That section not so much. That section is all. And that's what. So I need to make a trip down Lenel and come down this way. Get some footage of that. That's all gravel. Don't know why it's not paved. That truck doesn't move. Huh. Gotta make a note of that. I already know the address. Let me guess, out-of-state plates? Nope. A registration sticker. That one doesn't move either. Okay. So there's Gambino's house that she sold. Who knows? Maybe she's there still. But one story, sensible. That's crazy to me to think, man, that there are. I just figured you bought a big house like that. And I knew it was going to be largely empty, but I just never thought of. I thought the people would buy the house and furnish it. And then you'd have company come over once in a while and you got your upstairs. What that also tells me is that if I talk real nice to them, I can say, hey, how much is the mortgage? How about you rent out the top floor to me? And I got roommates. I might have to start doing that. And they say, we want $2,000 a month. I say, okay, we got a deal. That's probably not what they're gonna tell me, but someone would say, why were you subsidizing them so they can buy that house? You know, I was like, hey, I rent because I don't plan on sticking around. And you say, why pay someone else when you can own the property? Why would I own the property? That's a pain in the ass. They're the ones taking care of everything. I'm just paying a fee for them to do that. I started to realize that it's not really, if you don't plan on being around that long, then buying a house doesn't make any sense. Now, if you don't like the idea of paying rent to somebody, yeah, you could always be a squatter. That thing is still there. Now, I've been gone for an hour. All right, time to be a nosy bitch. Hey, is everything okay?
Yeah, it broke down and we called a tow truck.
Oh, okay, yeah, it takes them a couple hours to get here.
Yeah, 2 hours.
Yeah, all right.
But it's not starting or anything.
Yeah, I heard it earlier. I thought maybe y'all needed to jump, but...
No, I mean, we tried it, but it didn't work out.
Yeah.
The smoke started to come out of the starter. I don't know what that is, transmission or something.
So you got a blockage. Okay, but you got a blockage in the fuel pump somewhere. All right. Okay, as long as y'all got somebody helping you out, so
yes,
just making sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care. Seen him before. Where have I seen him before? He was down on Merrill. He had another car breakdown. He looks familiar. Where do you think he's from? Lebanon. My vibe tells me Lebanon. Like anytime I see a swarthy man who's really handsome and well-spoken, I think either Turkish or Lebanese. He's not quite hairy enough, or he's not quite hairier, macho enough to be Turk. So I'm thinking Lebanese. I was like, that's why he's still there. Plausible story? Yeah, because it happened to me. And I was commenting on that one time. It was after the ice storms, 20 degrees outside. My tire went flat at the most inopportune time, and so when my tire went flat, I didn't have a spare tire. No, my tire went flat, and then my spare tire was flat, and so I had to call the tow truck. And as the guy told me, it was going to be 90 minutes for them to get there. Wound up taking 3 hours. I had to call in work late, and that's the typical plight. I mean, that's what your car-centric society gets you. That you're gonna have tow trucks that are tied up.